streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark. Curtains rose, and so did he, finding power in poetry. One voice, one mic, one sacred truth. Every word he spoke uncaged the youth. He saw the world try to silence the bold, but his soul was wired to break the mold.
Welcome to Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your man, Calvin Gibbs, and we have a great show for you today. This episode is titled The Gift of Service: How Ordinary People Make Extraordinary Impact During the Holidays. This holiday season, while the world sparkles with lights and celebrations, something else shines just as brightly. People. Ordinary people. People who give their time, people that give their talents, people that give their hearts to lift someone up. On today's Born to Speak to You TV, we're unwrapping a different kind of gift, the gift of service. And joining me is someone who has seen firsthand how small acts of kindness can make big change. So don't go anywhere, because what you're about to hear today might inspire your next act of kindness. This is Born to Speak to You TV. This is Calvin Gibbs, and this is the segment we like to call Born to Rise. I'd rather have an enemy who admits they hate me instead of a friend who secretly puts me down. Yes, I would rather have somebody that says, Calvin, I do not like you, because I know where that person's coming from. They're being honest. They're being truthful. I know which category to put them in. But when you have a friend who secretly puts you down behind your back, say they got your back when they're talking to you, facing you, and then secretly behind your back, they're talking about you, they're laughing at you, they're hoping you don't be successful. Now, give me the enemy. Give me the enemy any day that admits that they hate my guts instead of a friend, or what I perceive to be a friend, who secretly puts me down. That's your tip for today. This is Born to Rise, and I'm Calvin Gibbs. This is Born to Speak to You TV.
From the streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark.
And we are back. Welcome to Born to Speak to You TV, where we speak life into the moments that matter. And today, that moment does matter, because the holidays bring with them a certain kind of energy, a glow, a heartbeat, a soulful reminder that the world still contains some goodness. And at the good center of that goodness is one powerful word, and that word is service. And that's why I love doing this show, because Born to Speak to You TV was created to do exactly that, to highlight voices, connect stories, and make room for conversations that matter. And today, conversation matters more than ever. My guest today is someone whose story is rooted in the heart of everyday community life. Laura Ellman grew up in the suburbs of Chicago in Hanover Park and Bartlett, Illinois, where childhood met exploring neighborhoods, babysitting for families, and playing basketball and softball on the local fields. Years later, it was actually a company softball team or game that introduced her to her husband, Pete. And together they raised a family, two sons, Hugh and Barrett, now young adults in their own paths. And I know he's going to get me for that, because I know Barrett very well. And with Pete being a A musician, a trumpeter, a band leader, and small business owner, the Ellman home has become a place where creativity and practicality live side by side. So in 2016, Laura made a life-shaping decision to run for public office, guided by the same principles that shaped her entire career, understanding how things work and then make them work better. That commitment led to her election to the Illinois State Senate in 2018. My guest today is Senator Laura Ellman, an advocate for community engagement, a leader who believes deeply in connection, and someone who understands the power of everyday people stepping forward to help others. She spent years organizing people and working alongside of local organizations, volunteers, neighbors, and today she joins us to share insights, stories, inspiration on how each of us can make a meaningful impact this holiday season. Woo! Welcome, Senator Ellman, to Born to Speak to You TV. Hey, Laura.
Hi, Calvin. How are you? That
I
was glorious. Thank you very much. And
thank you
let me
so
just
much.
say this. Do you mind?
Uh,
I'm sorry. But you know, when you talk about the holidays, I'm so glad that you're talking about it in terms of service because I forget about it sometimes. There's so much pressure on people to make sure that the holidays are just right, or schedules are all set and we don't miss anything, and the kids' costumes and the treats and the cookies are all done on time. It's easy to forget
yeah,
how peaceful that when you're focusing on service, how that can really kind of set the stage for peace of mind.
that is correct. That is
Yeah.
correct.
So thank you
And
for that.
my pleasure. And the other side of that, through all of the planning and the excitement and the celebration that goes on, there's somebody that's not feeling that. There's somebody that just lost their job, don't have
Right.
money to buy gifts, um, that's really in a tight place right now. And
That's exactly
that,
right. There are a lot of people who are wondering what's this next year going to look like?
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
these are difficult times.
Yeah, forget the next year. They're trying to get through this next
Right.
month.
That's exactly right.
Really. So when it comes to the holiday season, what does that mean personally to you when it comes to, let's say, service? What does it mean to you personally when it comes to service?
Well, I think service, it doesn't matter whether it's holidays or not. Um, I find, and I bet your viewers find, and for you too, that when you feel like you're helping somebody, that is one of the best feelings in the world. It's really a gift to be able to help somebody who needs help. And during the holiday season, there are a lot of people who need help. So
Mhm.
I urge people, seek out, if you need help, please seek it out, because there are people who really want to help and serve and give those gifts that they have to others. So
That's right. That's right. And just a couple of hours ago, I had to take a package back to Kohl's to send back to Amazon. And I was in this long line of people.
mhm.
You would you would think that it was the day after Christmas or something like that, as long as that line was. And for like 10 minutes, I decided to just turn around to the person in back of me and start a conversation. Next thing that I knew, there was like five of us talking, laughing, having a good time. And I was like, you know what? This is taking away some stress. I feel less
Right.
stress, and hopefully they did, because they were laughing and smiling and everything. And that's what it's all about, an act of kindness. It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to
Nope.
cost a lot. Just do something where you are, right?
just those little small reminders that we're neighbors, that we're all in this, even if we're not in it together, we're here together.
Hmm. That's
Just like
right.
this past weekend, we had a lot of snow.
Yes,
And
we did.
one of the nicest things about all of this snow was the number of neighbors outside shoveling each other's sidewalks, helping, shoveling, or if somebody's got a snow blower coming over and, doing the rest of their driveway. And yeah, there were like three or four of us out there just helping and, you know, doing what we can to be neighborly. It felt great.
Yeah,
It was a really nice part
yeah,
of the weekend.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And as you said, that's part of the service. There's a lot of seniors that live by themselves. They can't get out there and shovel the snow. Um, so get out there and try to help somebody. One of my neighbors actually came by and shoveled our walkway and everything. And I told him, I said, "You've earned yourself a beer on a hot day in June. I will find you and we will celebrate. Thank you very much." Because that's what it's all about, helping somebody and being and recognizing that help as I
Yeah.
did, and acknowledging that. And it's like, I'm going to pay you back. The first hot day we have in June, we got some cold ones coming, you know. so, so so he laughed at everything, but really, I really appreciated it because um, there's a lot of seniors in this
Yeah.
community that don't have anyone to help. The neighborhood app just exploded over the weekend with all the snow and people asking if anybody had uh, a snow blower or knew some young people to come by and shovel for them because they couldn't do it.
Right.
First thing I was thinking, well, why didn't you plan for this early? You knew the snow was coming, but we're talking
Yeah.
about seniors here, and oftentimes they live in the moment, right? They live in the
It's
moment.
not all, because that could be a really big deal.
Hmm.
Yeah. I know I don't
Yep.
want to fall on ice. Yeah. No, thank
Yeah.
you. It's not worth it.
Uh, I've had my fun doing that, and my wife
Me too.
laughing at me because I couldn't get up. don't want to don't want to do that again. So let's talk about we talked about some of the lesser known needs that people face during the holidays. We talked about seniors alone, families that could be between jobs right now.
Right.
We've gone through a change in this country where people have lost their jobs, may not have found meaningful employment yet. And of course, we're getting back from the government layoff, the government
Yeah.
shutdown, I should say. People may not have their SNAP benefits in place. Um, and of course, there's mental health needs. That's a big thing this time of year. Stress and all of the day to day things, Laura, creates a lot of stress on people. Do you agree
It
with
really
that?
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really, really does.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
So,
hard.
so a lot of people want to help, but they don't know where to start. What should I do? What advice would you give them?
Boy, that's a good question, because sometimes it's not easy. Like, where do I turn? Um, but I think there are lots of different ways. And I
Mhm.
know that one of the things that I really appreciated, I was actually camping. And when I go down to Springfield, I stay in a camper. And one year, this was when I had the pop-up camper. It was really cold. I went down too early. It was winter time. And I would close up the camper on the weekends that I would go home, and I'd have to wind it down, and it had vinyl sides and a heavy top, and I was doing it by myself. And that vinyl is really stiff when it's cold, so I'd have to like hoist myself up and shimmy, put as much weight as I could. And and sometimes the owners would come out and help me, but other times it was like early in the morning, and they didn't. But one of the
Mm,
things that they gave me as I was leaving, or one of the weekends, was step ladder. It was just
mm,
like a little, like 1.5 feet tall, foldable step ladder. You can see them in any camping store. And I thought, you know what? That's observant and compassionate. And that what a great combination that is. So, people take a look around and just open your eyes to the idea that somebody might need help or somebody might be struggling. You look
Hmm.
around in your life, you look around in your neighborhood, and you make that observation, and then you say, then you turn on your compassion and
Yeah.
see how
And,
that, see how you can help. That's one way to do it. And it can be small, it can be big,
hmm,
whatever it
yeah,
takes. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say next. My suggestion is to start small.
yeah.
Choose just one meaningful action, and that's a good place to start. You know, as I talked about the story with the online this afternoon in Cole's store, that's a meaningful action. That's something small. You know, I hope that those people that were online with me that I was talking to, and now that I'm a distinguished Toastmaster a few times over, I don't mind talking to anybody about anything, anywhere, anytime, you know. And I hope that they take that with them and share it with somebody else later on, because
Uh-uh.
of that's part of meaningful service, to receive it and then pay it forward. I
Yeah.
think, you know.
And it's just a nice reminder that, hey, we're all humans, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
We're not,
Some,
it's not a rat race. It's, I
and
believe that we were placed on this earth to help each other. So,
Yep. And some people call that the butterfly effect of
yeah.
kindness. It goes from one person to another, and just keeps traveling. So that's what I love about that.
Well,
Uh,
I feel like, so last month in September and October and even into November, there was ICE agents in Chicago and here in the suburbs. And I was so so taken aback by the people in Chicago and here in the suburbs who came to the aid of their neighbors and helped people, distributed whistles, distributed know your rights information, trained each other, you know, got together to help, went out to protest. But that helping our neighbors, to me, that's our saving grace. That
Indeed.
is what got us through that terrible time. It showed us our strength. It showed me our love for one another, and it all comes through helping. That service is where it shows. So
Yeah.
I'm getting a little teared up thinking about it, but it really is. It's kind of I call it grace, but it's it really was our saving grace during that hard time, I think.
Yeah, it was. It was. The word that comes to mind for me is empathy. Putting yourself in somebody
Yeah,
else's shoes. What would you like someone to help you with if you were the one uh, having your rights taken away? What if
yeah,
what if you were the one that needed help? And I think empathy, the giving out of the whistles, the support, the marches and everything. Yeah, a lot of us were in that same boat with you, Laura. We were very upset at what was going on, and
yeah.
it's not over yet.
No,
So
it's not. No. But
if we
that's
can
another
just
way that you can help too. So if you're gassed at the news that you're seeing and the videos that you're seeing, reach out. There are ways that you can help along those lines too. And that not only helps others, but it can also provide your own peace of mind and make make your community, make our society a better place to be.
yep. So since you talked about community, Can you share a story or a simple act of service that you've witnessed that created an unexpected impact?
Ah, well, I think the Chicago story is really not only, I'm sure I've got some other examples, but one thing I do want to mention about that and reflect on is, so, we have, there's so many Chicagoans came out for each other and helped each other. That had an impact locally in those neighborhoods. It had an impact in the whole city and in the whole area. But other communities where it's happening now, North Carolina, Oregon, California, they're going to try, I think they're trying to do it in your neck of the woods in New York City.
Yeah,
They saw what we were doing. They're distributing whistles. They're, protesting. They're blocking ice from getting out to help their neighbors. So not only is it helping here, but then it's growing nationwide. So
yeah, it's becoming a movement and one that is necessary. Just
mhm.
keeping in mind the humanity that we sometimes forget,
Yeah,
with the hustle and the bustle. And I think it's a good thing that we are having the opportunity to remember some of that.
I
Put it like that.
agree. Yeah.
I'll put it
It
like that.
it reminds us of who we are, you know,
Mhm. So,
and who
Laura,
we
let's
want to
talk
be
about
as a group. Hmm.
absolutely. So, Laura, let's talk about families and how families can create traditions of service that children can carry with them into adulthood. Uh, I know for me, raising my daughter in New York, co-parenting as it was, I tried to instill in her certain things. Although she was raised she could get she's had a computer since she was born, okay? In 1982, she's had a computer, some type of computer. So she's, been blessed in that aspect. But I wanted her to see the other side of things. So sometimes during Thanksgiving, we would go to a food pantry where they were
Uh-huh.
giving out dinners, and we would serve people. And I let her get the feel of the other side of things while our family was, together and having big dinners, and everybody was, all together. There's another side of things, and even though she's an adult now, 40 plus years old, living on her own in Seattle, she told me last week that she actually went to a food pantry, a shelter in the
Oh,
Seattle
wow.
area, and she helped serve dinners. And I was like, yes, did so did something right. So
It
I did something right. So Laura, do you have any ideas how families can create those type of traditions of service that children can carry into their adulthood?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I've brought my kids to feed my starving children, brought them to
Mm,
the Northern Illinois Food Bank to help um, put food together. We volunteered in a food pantry. Um, and, I don't know what you were like, Calvin, as a teenager, but I was not the most service oriented kid in the world. Um, but later on, I was. So, even if, I don't know about your daughter and whether when she was 16, 17, 22, she was out there, you know, at shelters and helping people, but she is now. And I'm hoping my kids, so my son, today's my elder son's birthday, 25. Happy birthday, Hugh.
well, all
And
right.
my 21-year-old Barrett, they're not out there. necessarily volunteering, but I know they will be. And I know that, they were out there this weekend helping shovel people's sidewalks, um, just, without having been asked. So,
Yeah, yeah. And that's what it's all about. And they will remember that. And when they have families of their own, hopefully that tradition can, those values, family values, can transpose into the next generation.
yeah,
That's what it's all
yeah,
about. That's our way of making the world a better place, one generation at a time, right?
yeah. Now, when you were a child, did your folks instill that in you when you were young?
No, no,
I didn't
no,
either.
no, no. These these are all things I didn't learn in school and did not learn at home. In fact, that's the name of one of my workshops. I didn't learn that in school. I didn't learn that at home either. I had to live
Yeah,
life and go through some stuff and figure some stuff out for myself
yeah, me
before
too.
before the light bulb came on, and I was like, wait a minute, I can do
Hmm.
better as a
Yeah,
person. I can do better, and took it from there. And I still have family members that I have tried to break away from big family gatherings and let's go over here and do something, and they will not do it. So be it. I'll do it. I'll
yeah,
have fun. They'll miss me. I'll catch up with them later, and that's
yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, maybe they'll discover in their own time
Yeah,
how good it feels.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So, uh, what do you believe that communities gain when people choose to serve others without recognition? Do you? Well, I know one thing
Well,
because you mentioned it. It's unity.
yeah. It's
Hmm.
neighborliness.
Hmm.
There's if you kind of get the feeling over time, even when it's small, that if something happens, somebody is going to be there to help you. That is like, it's almost like an insurance policy. It's just a peace of mind, and it's less psychological cost. Like,
Hmm.
if you have to like prepare for the worst at all times, and make sure that you're buttressed against this potential risk, and make sure that everything is buttoned up all the time, that takes a lot of effort. But if
Sure
you
does.
realize that your neighbors might be there to help, or your family members, it allows you a little bit of freedom. It allows you to take a little bit more risk. And it's just, it gives you a little bit of peace of mind, just on a personal level. And then, in a neighborhood where people help each other, as opposed to like yelling at each other, or, suing each other, or, whatever. If it's a hostile neighborhood, just think of, where would people rather be? You know,
Yeah,
so I
that's
don't
right.
know.
That's right. One
Yeah,
thing that comes to mind for me is social trust. When
yeah,
communities get together and they bond and they get to know each other, and they talk to each other, because the reason I started my podcast in 2021 was because after the summer of 2020, there was so much violence, hatred going on. People were not talking to each other. So once people start to discuss as a community things with each other, they get to know each other. And once they get to know each other, they say, hey, well, Joe's not that much different than I am. Maybe he's an all right guy. And then you
yeah.
start breaking bread together, having a cold one together, sharing music, sharing life events together. And guess what? The world has just changed. It went a little
It
bit,
really has.
it moved from the darkness of hatred into a little bit of the light. And if
Yeah.
we can move that needle together, I think that's a good thing. And as I mentioned, the social trust. Now people trust each other. You know, you got and Illinois is a melting pot of people from all over the place, just like New York is, although a different flavor here in the Midwest than it is on the East Coast. But
It's better here
social,
in the Midwest.
well, we'll debate that
I
one day. Next, the next time I
didn't
come over,
like that one.
the next time I come over for dinner, we'll debate that. But the social trust is the thing. If you can get people in a community to trust each other, then you can start doing things together.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I have
It's
one
just,
more question. Go ahead.
yes. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say I have one more question for you, and
Hmm.
this is about leadership. What have you learned about leadership from observing volunteers and community servants? Because I
That's a
know
great question.
you've seen some things, and you've been involved in some things. Um, what have you learned about leadership by observing volunteers and community servants?
One of the things that I have seen time and time again, it's just like what you and your podcast. When people see a need, they just create the solution. Um, there have been countless, like here in Naperville, there are quite a few people who are really, really interested in the environment and wanting to make sure that we have clean air, we have clean water, clean soil, not only now, but in the future.
Mhm.
So there's a woman who started an organization to do just that, and it has grown. And not only has it informed people in Naperville on lots of different topics, but now she's engaging young people, high schoolers, with
Mm,
projects and potential legislation and new solutions and giving them a voice
all
on
right.
what they care about when it comes to their. So to me, creating those spaces and creating those opportunities for people to grow and blossom and express themselves, that's leadership.
Yep. And for me, what I was thinking about is for me, what I've seen is that's leadership from the bottom up. We've
Mhm.
always we are used to seeing leadership from the top, but that's
Yeah.
leadership from the bottom up. And to do that, you have to have a bit of humility with yourself. You have to
Oh
be
yeah.
a very humble person um, to lead from that vantage point. And I've seen that. Actually, I've seen that in myself at times, and I didn't
Mhm.
realize it until later on when I had to kind of sit down and think about things. But yeah, it's leadership from the bottom up, and
Yeah.
oftentimes we're used to seeing it from the top, and then it flows down. So that's what I've learned. So Laura, for our viewers, first I want to thank you for being on with me in this great conversation about service and how ordinary people can do extraordinary things this time of year. If any viewers want to contact you, how can they get in contact with you?
Probably the best. I have a website, senatorlauraellman.com, or you can email at info@senatorlauraellman.com. So please reach
Okay.
out.
Okay, let's put the email up. That's info@senatorlauraellman.com.
.com.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for being my guest today. Happy
Thank
holidays to
you,
you.
Calvin. Happy
Please
holidays
tell.
to you too. And when you come over for dinner, we'll have some Chicago deep dish pizza.
Sounds like a plan. I'm there. I'm there for that. Please tell Pete and the family I said hi and happy
Will do.
holidays.
Say hi to
All
Ansonia
right,
for me too. All
will
right.
do. This is Born to Speak to You, and we'll be right back. Don't go away. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and today's episode is called The Gift of Service and how ordinary people make extraordinary impact during the holidays. Now, when people hear the word service, they think about volunteering, donating, or doing something big. But the truth is, service is simply love with its sleeves rolled up. Service is the meals served at the shelter. Service is compassion dressed in everyday clothes. Service is the seat, the extra seat at the table. Service is the neighbor who clears someone else's snow. Service is that knock on the door that says, "Hey, are you okay?" Service is a coat drive volunteer who stays late to make sure that every child finds a warm jacket. Or simply put, it's the person that says, "I'm here for you." And what I've learned is that ordinary people, everyday folks, they do some of the most extraordinary work. Service is humanity's universal language. It brings us together regardless of our culture, regardless of our class, our politics, our age, or our beliefs. And in a world that sometimes feel divided, service can remind us that we're still really one community, one people, and we're capable of extraordinary kindness. I want to tell a story that I don't tell very often, but it's one that I will never forget. I moved from New York City to Chicago, Illinois on December 13th, 1996. It was a Friday. Yes, Friday the 13th. My family was not too pleased that I was moving. And the reason that I moved was I felt that I had to do it. Something was drawing me to Chicagoland. I didn't have any family in Chicago. I couldn't really give a real good reason why I was leaving New York. So I made my plans. I got an apartment in Chicago. I had a job waiting for me in Chicago. And then on December 13th, I waited for my final check from my employer. And lo and behold, because I had taken some days off that I thought I had uh, available to take off, my check had been cut drastically. So I no longer had the money I needed to buy an airline ticket, but determined to go. And because everything that I owned was already packed up and shipped, had been already moved by the moving company, I went and got a Greyhound bus ticket to take me to Chicago. This again was right around the holidays. So my money was tight. Stress was high. Stress was high. I was running low on fumes. I was just a mess emotionally, financially, spiritually. Have you ever had a season when you feel like you're holding everything together with just a piece of tape and a whole lot of prayer? That was me. So I got to Chicago. Oh, I got to add this. The bus broke down somewhere in Ohio. The Greyhound bus broke down. We were in a snowstorm. The bus broke down. So we had a convoy after waiting for a new bus to come. There was a convoy of us moving luggage from the broken down bus to the new bus to take us on to Chicago. And it was cold. And I remember thinking, money's already low. How am I going to get through the next few weeks? Not the next year, just the next few weeks. I get to Chicago, and guess what? My bag did not make it from Cleveland to Chicago. It was supposed to change buses with me in Cleveland to the Chicago bus. It never did. So I get to Chicago, can't find my things, find out my bag is still in Cleveland. So now I have no money and I have no clothes for a few days until they get my stuff on the right bus and it gets to Chicago. So I get to my apartment. My furniture has not arrived. I don't have a lot of funds left. And I realize for the first time in my life in a long time, I felt alone. I had God, I had my faith, but I'm looking around an empty apartment and I had nothing else going on. It was not a good feeling. I remember walking to a local store the next day to pick up a few things, necessity, not luxuries, just necessities. And every price felt like it was too high. Every decision I had to make felt heavy. When life happens, even the small things start to feel big. So I got to the register, and I guess the strain of what I was going through was written all over my face. I didn't say anything. I didn't ask for anything. I didn't explain anything. But the woman behind me, she was a stranger I had never seen before, tapped me on my shoulder, and she smiled and said, "I got this." Before I could even react, she had taken out her card and handed it to the cashier. I protested. I said, "No, that's okay." She insisted. I said, "I can't let you do that." She said, "Don't worry about it. Somebody once helped me. Now let me help you." And do you know what she told me after she paid for the things I had to purchase? She said she didn't need anything in return, just when I was able to help somebody else. And that moment hit me hard. And that's what I try to do with my life. Just try to help somebody else. And that's why I love doing this show. Because Born to Speak to You was created to do exactly just that, to help people highlight their voices, to help them connect stories, and to help them make room for conversations that matter. And today's conversation, it matters more than ever. So for everybody out there, first I want to thank Senator Ellman for reminding us that service doesn't belong to a title. It doesn't belong to a position. It belongs to the heart. And to our viewers, today's episode is a simple reminder that you don't have to be extraordinary to make an extraordinary impact. You can be an everyday person. You don't need a big platform, a big budget, or even a big plan. All you need is a moment and a willingness to act. So here's my call to action. Choose one act of service this holiday season, just one. This is for every viewer out there. Call somebody who's lonely. Donate a coat. Support a local charity. Help a neighbor. or simply share a word of encouragement with someone that needs it. Because service is contagious. Kindness, it spreads. And the world becomes just a little brighter every time you choose to give, every time you choose to service. And from all of us here at Born to Speak to You TV, I want to wish you a season filled with warmth, peace, and connection. May your holidays be blessed. May your spirit be refreshed and your heart full. Happy holidays to everybody. And please scan the QR code on your screen. This will help you find my YouTube channel where all of the Born to Speak to You episodes are housed. And also subscribe and interact with me. Send me some comments through the channel. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what I can do better. Maybe you would like to be a guest on Born to Speak to You TV. And remember, most of all, happy holidays, and always speak life into the moments that matter. Happy holidays.
Of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark. Curtains rose and so did he, finding power in poetry. One voice, one mic, one sacred truth. Every word he spoke uncaged the youth. He saw the world try to silence the bold, but his soul was wired to break the mold. Now he walks in purpose, pure and true. He was born to speak to you. He's got that rhythm in his truth, that fire in his flow. Speaking life into the moment, watch it grow. Every phrase